My wife cried when I returned from a 6-month deployment, and she cried again when she caught me in bed with a strange woman, a memory wiped clean by a night of drinking, a reliable witness, and a sobbing mistress apologizing profusely. All the evidence was stacked against me. They cornered me, issuing a cold ultimatum: sign over all our assets, or face total ruin. They believed I had fallen into their trap, that I was just a tired, predictable soldier, but they forgot one thing. I never take my eyes off the battlefield. The only question left was, what do you do when that battlefield is your own bedroom? I'm Captain Alex Riley, a U.S. Army intelligence officer. My job is to analyze threats, identify red flags, and see through facades. I'm trained to trust data, not emotions. But after 6 months on deployment, the only thing I wanted to see was my wife, Bella. Dulles International Airport was loud and unfamiliar. My eyes scanned the crowd, a professional habit. But this time I was only looking for one person. And then I saw her. Bella's blonde hair cascaded over the shoulders of her cream-colored cashmere sweater, her smile so radiant it could have lit up the entire terminal. She threw herself into my arms. And for a moment, the entire weight of the last 6 months vanished. Her embrace smelled like home, like the peace I fought to protect. I missed you, she whispered into my chest. I'm home now, I replied, holding her tight. Our house in Fairfax was exactly as I remembered, only more perfect. The lawn was neatly trimmed, the white picket fence freshly painted, and inside, everything was spotless. Bella proudly gave me a tour, pointing out the new flower pots on the porch and the new bedsheets in our room. I wanted everything to be perfect for when you came back, she said, her eyes sparkling with joy. I looked at my wife, the woman who had single-handedly held down this fort while I was away, and felt nothing but gratitude. That evening, as we were having dinner, the doorbell rang. It was Todd Vance, the neighbor from across the street. He was always impeccably dressed, with slicked back hair and a bottle of expensive wine in hand. Captain Riley, welcome home, he said with a wide grin, handing me the bottle. Brought a little something to celebrate. Thanks, Todd. Come on in, I invited. He sat down, poured wine for the three of us, and started talking nonstop. He praised Bella's steak, complimented how she maintained the house, and made a point of saying, "You've got to hand it to Bella, holding everything together on her own. You're a lucky man, Alex." I know, I smiled, taking my wife's hand. Just then I saw him shoot a quick glance at Bella, a look that lasted no more than half a second. She responded with a subtle smirk. I just figured they'd grown closer while I was gone. It's what happens in the suburbs, I told myself. I was too tired and happy to think more of it. After Todd left and it was just the two of us, Bella snuggled up to me on the sofa. You know, Todd has this amazing investment opportunity, she began, her voice light and casual. A plot of land, just outside the city, with huge potential. He says if we get in now, we could triple our money in a year. I stayed silent, observing. She continued. I was thinking we could use your army savings. It's a rare opportunity, and Todd said he'd handle all the paperwork. I let out a slow breath and gently removed her hand from my arm. Later, Bella, I said calmly. I just got back. I don't want to talk about money right now. The eagerness in her face faded slightly, quickly replaced by a sympathetic smile. Yes, of course. I'm sorry. You just need to rest. She kissed my forehead, but I could feel a flicker of disappointment. That night, lying next to Bella, I couldn't shake a vague sense of unease. A small red flag had just been planted in my mind, and for an intelligence officer, even the smallest red flag is never ignored. The feeling of peace after my return lasted exactly 1 week. Then, the initial perfection began to show cracks, small ones, but enough for someone like me to notice. First, it was the phone. Bella started carrying it with her everywhere. Even into the bathroom, the screen was always face down on the table, and she would flinch slightly whenever a notification came in, quickly glancing at it before dismissing it. Once, I walked by as she was smiling and texting someone. It was a secretive smile, not the kind she gave me. When she saw me, she quickly locked the screen. "Just an old friend," she said dismissively. "Girl talk." I didn't press, just nodded. In my line of work, you learn to gather intel by observing, not confronting. Next came the financial pressure. The story about Todd's land deal didn't go away. It came up during dinners, while watching TV, even in bed. Bella started making comparisons. "The Vances are getting a new Mercedes," she'd say, her eyes fixed on the television. "Todd said he just closed a huge deal. If only we were a little more aggressive." Her words weren't accusatory, more like small needles, pricking at the sense of security I was trying to rebuild. As if the quiet life I had wasn't enough. And then, there was the scent. It was a Saturday afternoon. I came back from a run to find Bella talking with Todd in our front yard. They were standing a little too close, and as I approached, Todd patted her on the shoulder before greeting me. That night, as we were getting ready for bed, I hugged her from behind and smelled it, a strong, spicy, and very distinct men's cologne. It was Todd's, no doubt. It was on her hair and her sweater. "Where'd you go that you smell so good?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Bella seemed to tense up. "Oh, I stopped by the Vances for a bit to see their new garden plans. I must have picked up the scent there." She quickly went into the bathroom. The explanation was plausible, but it didn't explain why the scent was so strong, as if it had been there for hours. That night I lay awake. 3 red flags. The secret phone. The constant financial pressure. And now, the undeniable scent. The soldier in me knew this was a pattern, a series of connected events. But the husband in me wanted to dismiss it all. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the stress of my job had me seeing threats everywhere. I decided to give it and her more time. I would observe, but I didn't know that time was running out, and the opposition was already several moves ahead. The red flags kept coming, but I still chose to observe in silence. That was a mistake. I should have acted sooner. A week later, Bella seemed to sense the tension in the house. She suddenly became affectionate, taking the initiative to make amends. "I'm sorry for pressuring you about the money," she said one evening, her voice full of remorse. "You just got back, I should have let you rest. Tomorrow night, I'll cook a special dinner, just the 2 of us, to make it up to you, okay?" I was swayed. I wanted to believe my suspicions were baseless, that we could go back to how things were. I agreed. The dinner the next night was indeed perfect. Candles, wine, and all my favorite dishes. In the middle of the meal, Bella deliberately brought up the old subject. "I'm still thinking about that land deal," she said, her voice sad. "I feel like you don't trust my judgment." "That's not it, Bella," I replied, starting to feel weary. "I just need time." The small disagreement quickly escalated into a fight. Her voice grew louder, full of hurt. "You're always like this. You always think you're right. I don't feel respected in my own home." Then, dramatically, she stood up, tears welling in her eyes. "I can't stay here anymore. I need some space. I'm going to stay at my friend's place for the night so we can both cool down." She grabbed her purse and car keys and stormed out the door before I could say another word. I sat there, stunned and frustrated as the door slammed shut. I poured myself a stiff drink, then another. Guilt and anger churned inside me. A short while later, the doorbell rang. I thought it was Bella, but it wasn't. It was Todd Vance. "Hey, man." I saw Bella drive off looking really upset. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice dripping with concern. "Just a misunderstanding," I said curtly, not wanting to talk. "Come on, let me in for a drink," he insisted. "We're guys, right?" I didn't refuse. That was my second mistake. He came in, carrying a strange bottle of whiskey. He poured me a glass, then another. We made meaningless small talk. I don't remember how much I drank. Everything started to blur. My last memory is of Todd patting my shoulder and saying, "It's all gonna be okay." After that, there was only darkness. I didn't know that as I began to lose consciousness, Bella wasn't at her friend's house. She was waiting on a quiet side street. I also didn't know that Todd had used a spare key Bella gave him to let a strange woman in through the back door. They had set everything up. And I, an intelligence officer, had walked straight into their trap. I had let my emotions override my training. And the price for that was worse than anything I could have imagined. A sharp pain in my temple woke me. Morning sunlight streamed through a gap in the blinds, hitting my eyes and forcing me to squint. It was my bedroom, but something was very wrong. The air was thick with the smell of cheap perfume mixed with alcohol. And then, beneath those scents, I caught another, familiar one, strong and spicy. Todd's cologne. It was like a red alert flashing through the fog in my mind. And then I felt it. A steady breathing right next to me. I turned my head. Strange. Dark hair was splayed across Bella's pillow. A face I had never seen before. I shot up like a spring, my heart pounding in my chest. A strange woman was sleeping in my bed. Neither of us was wearing anything. Panic. That's the only word for it. My memory was a mess. The fight. Bella leaving. Todd. Whiskey. After that, nothing. A complete blackout. "Who are you?" I growled, shaking the woman awake. She opened her eyes groggily, her sleepy expression quickly shifting to feigned panic. Who are you?" "This is my house. What are you doing here?" I roared, grabbing my pants from the floor. My head was spinning as I tried to piece things together. Where was Bella? What the hell had happened? Just then, I heard a key in the front door. Bella's voice. "Alex, I'm home. I think we need to talk." Her voice died. The bedroom door swung open. Bella stood there, car keys still in hand. Her face changed from hopeful to stunned, then to utter disgust and pain. The performance was timed to the second. "Alex," she stammered, her voice trembling. Who is this?" The strange woman in the bed, now wrapped in a sheet, started to sob. I'm sorry. He said he was lonely last night. Everything happened so fast. Every word, every action was a direct hit. I stood there, literally and figuratively exposed. Backed into a corner, I couldn't escape. I had no memory, no alibi. All I had was a heartbroken wife and a crying woman in my bed. I opened my mouth to explain. But what could I say? That I didn't remember anything? It sounded like the clumsiest lie in the world. "Bella, don't," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Don't say anything." She turned and ran from the room. I could hear her sobbing from the living room. The strange woman, whose name I would later learn was Chloe, hastily got dressed and rushed out of the house, still muttering apologies. I was left alone in the messy room. The smell of cheap perfume, alcohol, and betrayal filled the air. I had lost. At least, that's what they wanted me to believe. I rushed out to the living room, my mind still reeling. Bella was curled up on the sofa, her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. The sight was like a knife to the chest. Guilt washed over me, drowning out my vague suspicions. "Bella, please let me explain." I knelt in front of her. "I swear, I don't remember anything. I was drinking with Todd last night." "Drinking with Todd?" She looked up, her red-rimmed eyes filled with contempt. "And that's your excuse for bringing a whore into our home?" The word whore was like ice. As I stood there speechless, the doorbell rang. Bella wiped her tears and stumbled to the door. Todd Vance stood there, holding a box of donuts, his usual smile plastered on his face. "Good morning. Brought some breakfast over to see how." His smile vanished as he took in the scene. "Oh my God, What happened? You two look. Bella burst into tears again, burying her face in Todd's shoulder. He cheated on me. Todd, she sobbed. He brought someone else into our bed. Todd looked at me, his expression shifting from surprise to profound disappointment. He comforted Bella, his voice filled with outrage. Alex, I can't believe this. I could tell you weren't yourself when I left last night, but I never thought you'd do something like this. He was lying. He was the one who got me drunk. But in that moment, his words were the final nail in my coffin. He was the witness, the good friend, comforting my wife. I was the villain. It wasn't like that. I tried to protest, but my voice was weak. Enough, Bella shouted, pushing away from Todd and staring directly at me. I don't want to hear any more of your lies. It's all perfectly clear. She took a deep, steadying breath, her voice now as cold as ice. I've already called my lawyer. We're done. I was stunned. It had all happened too fast, too perfectly. A well-staged play. And I was the only actor who didn't know his lines. For the sake of your military career. And because I don't want to turn this into an ugly public spectacle, she continued, her tone dripping with false magnanimity. I won't drag this through the courts. Just sign the divorce papers and the agreement transferring all our shared assets, the house, the cars, the savings to me. Consider it compensation for the pain and humiliation you've caused. She looked at me, her eyes no longer filled with pain, but with a challenge. That's the minimum price for my silence. Otherwise, I'll make sure command knows exactly what one of their intelligence captains does. Behind his wife's back. The threat was made. The ultimatum was on the table. They had calculated everything, from breaking me down with guilt to cornering me with a threat to my career. I looked at Bella, then at Todd standing beside her with his fake sympathetic expression. I knew I was being set up. But at that moment, I had nothing. I could only do one thing. Fine, I said, my voice hoarse. I agree. The moment I said it, I saw a flash of triumph in Bella's eyes. A cold glint she quickly extinguished behind her mask of sorrow. Todd patted my shoulder, a gesture full of fake sympathy. I'm so sorry, man, he said. Call me if you need anything. I just nodded. The door closed, leaving me alone in the silence. But it wasn't the silence of defeat. It was the silence of a battlefield after the first volley, and I was the lone survivor, assessing the damage. The panic was gone. The guilt had been replaced by a chilling clarity. An intelligence officer never accepts a scene at face value without analysis. And this scene had too many holes. Instead of cleaning up the mess, I took out my phone. I systematically photographed everything. The disheveled bed, the cheap earring on the floor, the leftover whiskey, and especially the strange bottle Todd had brought over. I put on a pair of medical gloves from my first aid kit, carefully placed the glass I had used into a Ziploc bag, and sealed it. There was something in that glass besides whiskey. I sat down and mentally reconstructed the entire sequence of events, not as a husband, but as an analyst. The irrational fight, Bella's dramatic exit, Todd's almost immediate arrival, the strange whiskey, and then the complete blackout in my memory. I've been through rigorous training. My tolerance is high. Total amnesia isn't a symptom of being drunk. It's a symptom of being drugged. This wasn't a mistake. This was an operation. They had underestimated me. I picked up my phone and made 2 calls. The first was to Marcus, an old Army buddy from Cyber Command, now running a private security firm. Marcus, it's Alex, I said, getting straight to the point. I need you to run a remote diagnostic on my phone. Check installation history and activity for the last 12 hours. Something's not right. The second call was to Frank, a seasoned private investigator and ex-homicide detective I'd worked with before. Frank, I need your help. Find a woman. I only know her as Chloe. probably a freelance actress. More importantly, get me all the security footage from my neighborhood for the last 12 hours, especially anything covering the entrances and exits. Next, I acted on my own. I went to a private clinic and requested a full blood and urine panel, specifically asking them to screen for sedatives. The sealed glass was sent to an independent lab Frank recommended. I was no longer the betrayed husband. I was an intelligence officer on a mission. My targets: Bella and Todd. My objective: gather evidence, turn the tables, and uncover the truth. As I was driving from the clinic, my phone buzzed. A text from Bella. The lawyer has the papers ready. His office, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. Roger. I texted back. The board was set, but they didn't know I was about to start moving my own pieces. The next 24 hours passed in silence. But beneath the surface, my operation was running at full throttle. The first results came from the lab. My blood tested positive for benzodiazepine, a powerful sedative that can cause temporary amnesia when mixed with alcohol. The residue in the whiskey glass confirmed it. The biggest red flag was now a verified fact. I had been drugged. Shortly after, Marcus called back. Alex, I'm in. Someone installed a fake dating app on your phone at 23:47 last night. It was designed to self-delete after 24 hours, but I caught the digital trail. More importantly, the GPS on Bella's phone shows she never went to her friend's house. She just circled the neighborhood and parked on a secluded street 2 blocks away for 3 hours. The pieces were starting to connect. The final, decisive piece of evidence came from Frank at the end of the day. I've got something for you, Alex, he said, a smug tone in his voice. Security camera from the house across the street. The angle isn't perfect, but it's clear enough. 11:15 p.m. Bella's car leaves. 11:30. Todd's car leaves. 11:50. A strange car, probably Chloe's, arrives and parks down the street. A woman gets out and walks toward your house. But here's the kicker. At 2 a.m., Todd's car is seen returning and parking in a blind spot. About 15 minutes later, Bella's car pulls up. They met right near your house. What about Chloe? I asked, my heart rate quickening. Found her. A freelance extra with a mountain of debt. I had one of my guys chat with her. She's terrified. I had enough. My weapon wasn't a gun. It was information. And now, I was fully armed. I called Frank. Frank, go see Chloe. Tell her I have a deal for her. Cooperate, or face felony conspiracy charges. I need a signed statement and a recorded phone call. An hour later, Frank sent me an audio file. It was Chloe's voice, trembling, as she called Bella. Is everything okay? I'm getting a little nervous. Bella's voice came through, cold and smug. Relax, he bought the whole thing. The rest of the money will be transferred tomorrow, after he signs the papers. Just keep your mouth shut, and you won't have any trouble. That was all I needed. I spent the rest of the evening organizing everything into a digital presentation. The toxicology report, Marcus's phone data analysis, the security camera footage, Chloe's signed affidavit, and finally, the damning audio recording. I checked the time. Almost midnight. Only 10 hours until the meeting at the lawyer's office. I sent a text to my own lawyer, a retired Army JAG officer with a reputation for being tough as nails. Before we start tomorrow, show them this. I attached the presentation file. Then I went to bed. For the first time in 2 days, I slept soundly, without dreams. The storm was coming, but I was ready, and I was going to be the one to win. I walked into the lawyer's office at 10 a.m. sharp. The room was cold and luxurious. All polished mahogany and leather-bound law books. Bella and Todd were already there, sitting next to their attorney. Bella wore an elegant black dress, her makeup carefully applied to look tired but still poised, the picture of a grieving victim. Todd sat beside her, arms crossed, playing the part of the protector. He gave me a condescending nod. Bella's lawyer, a portly, middle-aged man, began the meeting. My client has suffered a severe emotional shock, he said sympathetically. However, she wishes to resolve this matter quickly and privately. We have drafted an agreement. Hold on, my lawyer. Retired Colonel Thompson interrupted. His voice was sharp and commanding. Before we discuss any agreements, I think you all should see this. He turned the large laptop on the table to face them. I didn't look at them. I watched their reflections in the glass of the bookshelf opposite them. Thompson hit play. The presentation started with the toxicology report. The words benzodiazepine. Positive magnified on the screen. In the reflection, I saw Bella's face twitch. Next was the phone data analysis. The installation history of the fake dating app, the timestamps, and the GPS map, showing Bella's car circling the neighborhood. Todd's lips tightened. Then the security camera footage played. The images were grainy, but clear enough to identify Bella's car, Todd's car, and Chloe's shadowy figure sneaking through the night. I saw Todd's hand clench into a fist under the table. Thompson saved the best for last. He played the audio file. Chloe's trembling voice filled the room. Is everything okay? I'm getting a little nervous. And then Bella's smug, cold voice echoed. Relax. He bought the whole thing. The rest of the money will be transferred tomorrow, after he signs the papers. Just keep your mouth shut, and you won't have any trouble. The recording ended. The silence in the conference room was heavy as lead. I looked directly at them for the first time. Bella's face was as white as a sheet. Her victim mask had shattered, revealing pure, unadulterated panic. Todd stared intently at the tabletop, his jaw clenched, refusing to look up. Their lawyer looked just as shocked. So, Colonel Thompson said, his voice calm but powerful. Now let's discuss a new agreement. Our agreement. He slid a thin folder across the table toward them. This is an uncontested divorce petition. Bella will not receive a single cent. Second, this is a demand for compensatory damages for emotional distress, investigative costs, and legal fees. The number is non-negotiable. Both of you will be held jointly responsible for payment. Bella's lawyer stammered. This is extortion. No, Thompson cut him off. This is a choice. The other option is that this entire file goes directly to the Fairfax County District Attorney's Office, along with charges of conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, defamation, and assault by poisoning. You can do the math on how many years that will be. Bella started to cry. But this time, it wasn't an act. These were tears of defeat and fear. Todd just sat there like a statue. They had no other choice. They signed. I stood up, said nothing to them, and walked out of the office. The air outside felt unusually fresh. I didn't feel joy or vindication, just a sense of relief. The war was over. A few weeks later, the house was mine again. All traces of Bella and Todd were gone from my life. I had lost a wife and an illusion of happiness. But in return, I had found myself again. I had proven that even when pushed into the darkness, a soldier always knows how to find his way back to the light. And the greatest lesson I learned wasn't on some distant battlefield, but right here in my own home. Never underestimate your opponent, but never, ever doubt your own instincts.